Welcome, everybody, to episode 16 of the Hockey Toolkit. I am Trevor DiCarlo.
I'm Andrew Trimble, appearing for Sweet 16.
Numero 16. I don't know what I know the Spanish, but
That's French, right? That's French?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's something along those
Quebecois.
lines. But yeah, episode 16. We're chugging right along, and a little bit earlier for me, so I'm still kind of getting the cobwebs out from work mode to podcast mode. But outside of that, how have you been?
Good. It's the weather here in New Hampshire kind of really turned. You know, it's like we have winter, and then we have horrible mud season where it's like really wet and nasty and gross and like 40 degrees, but like just wet and nasty. And then all of a sudden, it just like one day it is 80 degrees outside, and pollen is all up in the air, and the bees are out, and that's where we're at now. It's like 80 degrees and sunny and bright. So I can't really complain too much because last week it was like we wake up in the morning, it was 40 degrees. What's it like in Chicago?
It sucks, if I'm being quite honest. Days start off, or it's actually, like, again, as you said, you know, our season's out here. It's basically we went from winter to a small little like spring into, then it's like today was 80. It started off like in the morning in the 80s, got up to 90, then it stormed. And now it's back down to 60s. So, yeah, wow. I remember as a kid we used to have seasons, but I guess there might be something to that climate change. But I don't know. But how's everything going on Hockey World for Coach Andrew's side?
Good. We're moving right along. Our rosters are taking shape. My camps are doing really, really well. I'm excited about where we're going to be at in my camps in the summer, and then. This is just doing like this, like we've talked about last week, a lot of the garage sessions, which are great kind of segue into really what video coaching is all about. Cause I use my phone a ton for like breaking down kids' shooting mechanics and their posture and things like that. So that's our great kind of leaning into where we're going to be, talking about today is a lot about video coaching. But what's going on in your world, Trevor?
You know what? Actually, so now we're kind of done with the spring session's over. Which it should be, considering tomorrow will be June 1st, and that's, you know, not the start of summer, but summer session. So we're kind of winding down with that. I've got one more of my skates, and then I'm taking a little bit of a break. I will be doing some different conferences, checking out, and then kind of doing just once a week skates. So nothing really too hairy, more or less kind of my like unwind session where I can, I don't have to be at the rink every night, so it's a different feeling. I'm not used to it. I don't know if it's good or bad. Sometimes I feel like it's bad because I need my mind to constantly be focused on something, but there's other things in my life that I need to focus on too. So, yeah, just kind of getting ready for that, and then going from there. But so I do know, and you said earlier, before the show, you're going out of country.
Yeah. So the EHL is having its first ever European Combine. So I'll leave on Wednesday, June 7th, taking the red eye over to Prague, and we're having a combine right outside Prague in a town called Velké Popovice, which is the home of Kozel Brewery. It's like a 500-year-old brewery right next to the rink. So I got to figure out where I want to spend more of my time. And and it'll be a great combine because I think we already got like 50-something kids signed up. They're all kids who are looking to come to the United States and play junior hockey here. We've gotten some great players in the past from Slovakia, Latvia, Czech Republic. So it's in a really great spot for like Central Europe to bring in some of those players. So I'm excited about what it's going to mean for the league and for all the organizations in the league too.
How many teams besides yourself are going?
We got a handful of teams. I know like the Seacoast Spartans and Worcester Railers, I believe, and Union Thunder, even some of the teams that are just in our EHL Premier Division still can go after some of those players. And I think that's a great spot for them because, junior hockey tends to be the teams that win it tend to be older teams. But the organizations that have, better talent at the, tier 2 or tier 3 level in some respects have a lot of young talent. And a lot of those young talents come from overseas. And so it's exciting to see where we could be in a couple of years if we continue to grow events like this.
And you guys have no import rule, correct, for the EHL?
Yeah, that was it. Once we left USA Hockey, that restriction got lifted. So we used to be at 4, and now, we're full sail right here. We're going. Laconia becomes in the winter. It becomes the United Nations over here. We got kids from Norway. So next year we have at least a bunch of kids from Canada, Ontario, Quebec, and then we also have kids from Norway. We got kids from Latvia. We got kids from Czech Republic. We got kids from Slovakia. We got a kid from France who played in their top division last year.
Wow.
So it's going to be exciting, and I think that adds something to the league. I certainly think that it elevates the level of play.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you guys are going full tilt out there. That's pretty cool. Now, how long are you out there for?
I fly out Wednesday. We arrive like Thursday morning, and then I fly out again on Sunday.
So when you come back, do you like go back in time and get some extra time back in your life, or does it not work that way?
I do. I use that time. I put it at 1.21 gigawatts, and I usually go back to about 1985 when I was at my peak.
Well, I hope you're not flying back in a DeLorean. That's probably
if I get my hands on a DeLorean, that's a game changer.
That would be. But no, that sounds fantastic. I can't wait to hear all about that. I mean, we probably should just dedicate a whole episode to that experience when you get back.
Yeah, the fun thing about that is the first 2 days are practices. And then they followed up with games. And when I went out there last time, I got to run some practices, and it was fun to kind of see how the kids could understand and also implement what you're trying to teach, and then also getting that information from other coaches who are running those practices. I'm a sponge. I love to absorb that stuff. So let's make an episode of that coming up in the future. I don't want to, disclose it all right now.
No, not a problem. No, definitely. It sounds like a blast. But we brought it up earlier. Talking about video. Video, and I'm sure you're going to take plenty of video when you're out there and all that fun stuff. But the big today's emphasis on this episode, at least, is video and hockey. Now, I don't know about you, Coach, but I know you're just a tad older than me. But even when I was playing, there wasn't very much video being used by the coaches that I had, especially high school or even, my brief stint of college hockey. I actually would have to have like a family member videotape my own games and just my specific shifts just to see, for me to go back. But, growing up for yourself, were you using a lot of video at all?
No. So the latter part of my high school career, we started to record, with a mounted camera, record the games. But mostly it was used as like the precursor to like recruiting. You could take that game tape, you can make duplicates of it, then you can send it on to a junior or college coach. Same thing at the junior level. When I played junior hockey, a junior coach would record the games and then send that off to a college coach. And actually, when I went to Buffalo State, I actually remember being in the coach's office, and he was like, "I got your recruiting tape here. You want to take it back with you?" And I was like, "Oh, sure. I don't."
You don't want an autograph, Coach?
You don't want to watch me play anymore. I get it. So there's it was mainly used as that, like instead of breaking down your own individual play or improving a lot of play. Because it was just the technology wasn't there yet, but now it's a game changer. Now it really is incredibly easy to really, improve a player's game just by using your phone.
Oh, I mean, you can watch games, as you guys use Hockey TV, right? Am I correct on that one?
We use Hockey TV, and we also have Live Barn in our rink for practices and things like that.
Yeah, so we've got Live Barn out here. We have Hockey TV as well for at the junior levels, but yeah, I mean, Live Barn obviously out here. I know for myself that's been a godsend because it's so much easier for me to just pick up stuff off games that I've been coaching or even practices, or hey, if there's any misconduct that happens and you got to go back to a parent and say, yeah, Billy did mouth off to the coach and here it is. And actually you might be able to hear him depending on how close he is to the mic. Yeah, so I mean, nowadays that stuff's, videos everywhere. I mean, again, your phone, as you talked about before, being able to take video right off your phone and, diagram it up. There's apps, there's software programs, which, we'll definitely probably get into a little bit later. So yeah, video is definitely so much more prevalent today. And I wish I had the access to that, but you even said it, recruiting videos, this and, doing that, your highlights. And we didn't have that for okay, we had the VHS stuff, but okay, maybe my age group, we could send out a DVD maybe, but now all of it is a kid just drops you his YouTube channel and there it is, it's unreal. So I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a strange area. I don't know why I said that. That makes no sense. It's definitely a different area, for us coaches, but using it though as a tool for the team has also come a long way, and it's just so much easier to use. For you guys at the with the Wolves, how much video do you guys do probably throughout a regular week?
That's every coach within the program is a little bit different, but that's a great question, and I think that we actually carved out a section of our training facility, our rink, to make a video room, and it's been a great resource for us. I would say on average, the teams that some coach uses it more or less. Our youth coaches maybe getting there, a couple times a month, something like that. But then when it comes to our junior stuff, we're utilizing video pretty much every day, whether it's individual meetings like throughout the week, where you're breaking down a kid's shift, things that they did positively or negatively, whether it's pre-scouting your opponent, looking at their power play and their penalty kill or their special situations, or you're utilizing it for game reviews, like as a team. This is what we did well. This is what we didn't do well. And if you have a 5-day, work week leading into your games, and there's so much information you can improve without stepping on the ice, just by giving that information to players.
No, absolutely. For my level, again, I would schedule and again, this is where I will be the first person to say it. And, I will, say that I don't practice what I preach, but I will be, in the sense of I'm one of those people that feel like, more information is, you want more information, but, yeah, I've done some pretty long video sessions, typically 7 or 8 clips maybe, but, I expound on them a little too much, and I'm sure the kids just probably are sitting there just wanting to pound their heads into the wall. But, so that's my aspect of it. But, but for me growing up, we didn't have that. So I feel like it's if I don't get that information out, it's that fear of missing out. Did I give them enough information? Did I not? But the capabilities of it, and the amount of the schedule, like you said, 5 days a week, you can pull kids to the side, talk about different shifts, talk with a team. That's crucial feedback and crucial for any player's development. I don't know why any player would not want to have that.
I couldn't agree more. I think that there also, we actually utilize this software called Instat. Are you familiar at all with Instat?
So yes, a little bit.
So Instat is, it breaks it all down for you. So Hockey TV, you can make those 30-second clips and get it sent to your email or somebody else's email. But the Instat is the technology is right in front of you. So if you want to look up just Connor McDavid shifts, whatever, he has all 25 of his shifts over the course of a game, and you can download them right to your phone or your email, and it's all right in front of you. All your power plays are all broken down. Bam, all 5 of your power plays, all 5 of your penalty kills. And so on my first start, I said that we used it. I originally used video for recruiting or getting recruited. Now we found the technology's caught up and gone all the way around. So it's got better at individual player improvement and player development. But now we can take that information of Connor McDavid shifts, and I can send those off in an email to a college coach, and he can see his entire game without watching the entire game. So the technology is fantastic.
Now, when you say that, again, you're talking about it, and I know Huddle's another popular software editing tool, but Instat, who comes up? Is there someone sitting there just putting down, okay, pressing, here's Connor, start of his shift, here's the end of it? Is it basically almost AI? How does that work?
It's a Russian troll farm. It's Vladimir and Sergey in northern Siberia, and they do a great job of identifying the players.
Bitcoin mining.
Exactly. Their cobalt mining is well on part-time. And no, I have no idea, actually. I think it's some AI, but I really have no idea. And I probably, if I did know, it'd probably make my brain explode.
Yeah, you just know how to use it and get the information. That's all that matters. But we do actually have a pretty awesome guest today. Do you want to share?
Yeah, so we have Mike King. Mike King is the video coach for the Ottawa Senators, and he's also worked for USA Hockey at their World Championships. He's a fantastic young video coach who grew up here in northern New Hampshire. He'll get into his backstory a little bit, but he's a great example of a person who wanted to be a coach, understands, has a deep, deep love and passion for the game, and he kind of grew within the game. Once his career ended, he wanted to stay in the game, so he found a way to coach. He, got really good at technology, and now he finds himself at the best league in the world with an up-and-coming organization in the Ottawa Senators. So he's an exciting guy and gives a lot of great information for us. All right, hockey fans, welcome to the podcast, Mike King. Mike is the video coach for the Ottawa Senators. He's done a tremendous amount of work with USA Hockey. He's an excellent resource for coaches of all ages and trying to learn more about the details of the game when it comes to video coaching. So welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, I got a couple questions for you right off the bat, Mike. Dave Starman was on the podcast last week, and he talked a lot bit about the strength and the importance of video coaching with youth athletes and hockey players in particular. Now, you're dealing with a different beast a little bit. You're dealing with professional athletes who are at the top of their game. But on average, how long would you say are the average video sessions that you do or your coaches do with players individually?
I guess there's two ends of the spectrum on the first question. So, individual video, a little bit of a different beast in the sense that, a coach may spend, 2 minutes with a player or 10 minutes with a player, just depending on, certain situations. And kind of, I guess, at the NHL level would just be based on performance, I guess, right? If they're trying to get, a certain player playing better, if they're struggling in certain areas, and they may spend more time on the video side with, that player in the particular area. Also, kind of depending on the experience of the player. So like a younger player that's just kind of breaking into the league, or a veteran player may receive different, amounts of time with feedback video wise from a coach at any point during the season, right? So, I mean, like a player that's played, 800 plus games in the NHL would probably see less video from a coach than a guy that's, 23 games into his career, right? So, I mean, like any situation like that, I mean, I guess depending on, again, like if the player really, really loves getting video, then obviously the coach will, has plenty of time for that player, and we'll make sure we have stuff prepared for that player if he wants to see it. But I mean, if you got a guy that's a veteran player that doesn't need it every day, then obviously we'll back off in that sense, and only when he kind of requests it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, we were talking a little bit last week about tailoring your video sessions to your audience, and that's a perfect example of that. Whether you have a guy who's been in the league for 15 years or a guy who's been in the league for 15 games, you got to preach to your audience. And that brings up another question about player development. What is an example that you've seen of really where video coaching and feedback from video has really impacted positively a player's game?
So, I mean, like, there's multiple examples. I mean, but I guess, one particular instance that I think that, just comes up, I mean, based on just an American League experience that I've had. So prior to working in Ottawa, I was in Hershey in the American League for 4 years. So, I mean, there's a little bit more time spent on development in the American League than in the NHL. Not that that doesn't go on in the NHL, but the structure of the schedule is a weekend league for the most part, and so you have like Monday through Thursday basically to work through development processes with the players. But like for instance, what I would do in Hershey would be, let's say a player is struggling with wall play, right? So when pucks come up on the yellow, or in breakout situations or D zone situations where the puck needs to get out into the neutral zone. If we have a player that's struggling with that situation, we would, obviously have the footage on tape, cut up whatever else from the games, but then also film them during practice in those same situations. So you're generating, game-like scenarios for that player that obviously is an area that he's struggled in and, obviously needs to improve in. So you're setting up scenarios in practice that would, simulate a game and hopefully improve those situations. So obviously that type of stuff happens all the time in the American League and in the NHL with certain situations. But just from my personal standpoint, like when I was in Hershey, I was in charge of obviously filming practices and having that footage available for players if they wanted it or for the coaches. And then we would kind of, culminate all that video together and over the course of the season. And hopefully at when the games become a little bit more important towards the end of the year and playoffs, that player has improved in those situations, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great, Mike. I think, you're a former New Hampshire high school hockey player at one point, one stoppage in your career. So I think that's actually brings up an interesting point. Like we were talking, Trevor, a while back, and how the high school model is a really tough model because you got like 1 or 2 days of practice, then you have a game, then one or 2 days of practice, then a game. Whereas junior hockey has like 5 days of practice, and then it's a weekend league, similar to the American League.
100%.
With that kind of in mind, your journey through hockey. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I always think you're a great example of a guy who has a passion for the game and found his way in the game. Tell us a little bit about your journey through the game.
100%. I mean, like I obviously love hockey. I mean, I've been involved with it my whole entire life from, early on to current day, I guess. I mean, I grew up in Conway, New Hampshire, which is not necessarily a hockey hotbed. I know that you've spent a little bit of time there. But I mean, at the same time, like, I grew up just playing outside in local outdoor rinks because they didn't have the Ham Arena, which is obviously the current arena that they facilitate there. So I think my first year of really organized hockey was my first year of Pee Wee. So I think that's, I may be mistaken, but probably 11 years old, 12 years old, if that hasn't changed, maybe a little bit earlier.
Wait, you weren't on any AAA Mike teams?
No, negative. No, that is not no.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
I know. I got what you're going with there, but, no, we played outside. Like, I mean, North Conway had a rink right across in Schuler Park. If you're both familiar with that. And then, the fire station in Conway had a rink, and that was it. So the only indoor rink that we played in up until I was, like I said, first year Pee Wee would have been Wolfboro at that point in time, had an indoor rink, which might as well have been an outdoor rink at that point. But it's just based on the temperature. But no, so I mean, obviously through youth hockey, I didn't have much exposure to organized hockey until Pee Wee. So once the rink was built and, Mount Washington Valley youth hockey kind of had like a established, area or place to play, and just the ice available in the summertime, right? Like, I mean, I never went to a camp probably until I was 15 years old. And again, I didn't amount to being an NHL player by anywhere even close to the margin. But I mean, like coming from Conway to play, to go to junior hockey and play junior and then go to university and play in college. Like that was, for me was a, just like, oh, that's all that I ever wanted. Right. Like, I mean, in that sense, just to be able to continue to play at an organized level where people cared about the game. And obviously I could learn, from different coaches. So, that was my path wasn't, I just loved it and I worked at it and whatever else. So, I mean, I played in high school, had a lot of success in high school as an individual player. We lost in a couple state championship games at Kennett. But I had made a couple all-state teams and different things, just kind of building my confidence as a player. But never really having any like real, skill development, skill development stuff has kind of come, to the forefront in the last, maybe 10 years, right? 10, like where guys are working on individual skills. I mean, I never had that, right? So what you guys are doing, and I know Andrew, like when you got what you do with scoring concepts, like, obviously is tailored towards that development side, which I didn't get when I was a kid. Right. So, for me, post hockey, I've had way more success, as a in a coaching role than I have in a playing role. That's for sure. So just to wrap up quickly, so I don't take too long on the question, but I apologize.
No, it's all good.
Post playing, I got on the development side. So I worked at the Hockey Academy, which was run by John Faunis, Dan Faunis, which was based out of Hudson at the time for about a year. And then from there, I took a full-time job in Sudbury, Ontario, with the Sudbury Wolves and a training facility up there, working in player development, working with kids, and then all the way up through NHL players in the summertime. And then from there, got a job in Hershey in the American League as a video coach. That was my transition from development to video. And I spent 4 years in Hershey, and then I've just finished my fourth in Ottawa as the video coach there. And then sprinkled in there would be 3 trips to the men's national tournaments with USA Hockey in Riga, Latvia, and then twice in Tampere, which I just finished up my third one. So hopefully, I can continue to do some of that down the road. But yeah, so a quick little or maybe a longer longer explanation of kind of my path to where I'm at right now.
No, I think that's great stuff, though. And I remember, coming out of college, it was like time to get a job in the real world, and all these opportunities didn't always appear before you. But now, guys like yourself have just found a way in the game, and you're doing something you're super passionate about, that you have a real love for, and you've made a career out of it. So congratulations, Mike. It's a great journey, and it gives a lot of hope to a lot of kids, for sure. I got one more question for you before I turn it over to Trevor. What are some of the best tools that you've found for youth coaches? Like, if you were to give advice to a youth coach, what are some? This might not be right in your wheelhouse, but what are some things that you could tell a youth coach if they want to implement video into their practices?
Are you talking just from like a like showing video of their team, like a game footage prior to a practice? Is that what you're kind of coming with?
Yeah, or like you said you guys use video for your practices. You record that and implement that into their next practice plan. Like, what are ways you think that could benefit youth athletes from a coaching perspective with video?
Oh, it's nowadays, like with technology, like, and again, like just with your cell phone, like there's so much available, like that you can send out to players, and like free applications and different things that are valuable for youth coaches. Like, think about when you're at a game or whatever else, like every parent is filming their kid, right? So, if there's a way to, implement some type of feedback for your players, especially in situations where you're paying for ice time and you're limited to, let's say, 3 hours a week of practice ice, right? So if you're a coach and you're passionate about coaching, and, you're in it for the right reasons, and you're just trying to help kids come along, and develop into better players down the road, whether you go along with them or you pass them on to another coach, like, you can use, resources, technology resources, video wise, to help your kids out. Like, whether that just be, filming all the kids from, with skating stride development from, practice number 1 of the season, and maybe you implement some structure in there every practice with skating, or at least one out of the 2 practices, and then kind of have a natural progression from there, and then have a day 1 to a day, practice 1 to practice 60 of the year. And, hopefully there's some development, from certain situations, whether it be crossovers and different things. But like, that's just one example. I'm just kind of, obviously I think it's important for youth coaches to be able to show the parents that are playing or paying for their kids to play some type of development, right? So like, that's what the parents are paying for is some knowledge of the game, and some commitment to developing their child, whether the kid ever plays a college game or a AAA game. It's just the parents just want to make sure the kid's getting better and having fun. I think that's the most important thing. So
I couldn't agree more. Trevor, what do you have for Mike?
So, Mike, without giving away probably any trade secrets for what the big club that you work for, what
No secrets, though.
throughout the season, how long, when you guys do team, let's say, even if it's not like power play or special teams
Yep.
meetings, like as a team though, like when you're gonna do maybe a pre-scout or
Sure.
just anything in general, how long do your sessions typically last?
I would say 5 minutes or less at the most. Yeah, I mean, like it's. Like again, there are some times where we have longer video sessions or teaching segments. You know what I mean in regards to that stuff. But like, you have a short amount of time to deliver a certain amount of information to a team to prepare them for the game. Like, guys aren't going to, most players, okay, or at least at the NHL level, I I can't speak for them directly, but I just, from my experience, I would just say you have their attention for about 5 minutes. So, like, I mean, and I can't imagine it's much longer with young kids. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
no.
you have to think that you're getting the information that they're taking in nowadays with social media applications and all this stuff is like 30-second segments of information, right? Like, so like for our guys, when DJ, who's our head coach, and I go through the video and we prepare it for the team and make sure that it has what we need in there, whether it be pre-scout information on a new team or our own video of like a review situation where we're going through kind of some of the positives or negatives of our game prior to, like, it's pretty tight, like as far as like the video and the area that we're looking to improve or the area that we're trying to give information on the opposition, right? So like I would say 5 minutes or less. I mean, if you talk to a player 5 minutes after the meeting and you ask them whatever we went through, hopefully they can retain that information. But I would say if it's any longer than that, they're going to lose in minute 8 or 9, right? Like, I just think it's got to be pretty quick. So that's just, I mean, again, everyone is different, and I know that other teams in the NHL and the American League and different levels have longer meetings, and that's their cup of tea, and that's. But for me, I know our group is we try to keep it pretty tight to like a 5 minute window of that meeting.
Probably talk about that a little bit later more, but
Yeah.
it's funny you say that 'cause I went to a coach's clinic and Blackhawks hosted, and they said, yeah, that, like they went anywhere past 5 minutes, like Dustin Bufflin would be snoozing in the corner. So I think it's great that, it's just funny how you got the adults, they can only get past 5 minutes. But, as a video coach, you're not behind the bench, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
just making sure,
Yes.
double checking.
Yep.
So, what does a game day look like for you? Like, what's your routine look like schedule wise? Can you share any of that info?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I mean, it's pretty similar day to day. Whether it's a practice day or a game day. Obviously, game days have an evening, that's a little, obviously occupied with the game. But I would just say that I'm early to the rink, so I'm there, super early, just before the coaches get in there. That way, I can prepare all the video that needs to be prepared. Either it's pre-scout information or pre-scout video that I have to catch up on from the previous night's games, because even if we're off, not playing a game, other teams in the NHL that we're going to be playing soon or within that week may be playing. So I have that to prepare that video to make sure that I'm staying ahead of schedule. So on a practice day, I'm there, right around probably a little before 5 o'clock in the morning. So, and then just getting that stuff ready. Coaches usually show up between, 6 and 7. And then, we're going through kind of what the practice day looks like. If we're showing video before practice, the team will practice, and then the day kind of dissolves a little bit around, 3 p.m., I would say. And then on a game day, it's the same kind of arrival time. Obviously, there's a little bit of buffer time in between meetings, meetings and lunch, and then obviously players will go home and rest before the game and then come back. So, I mean, those nights get a little bit long. And then if you do end up traveling, I mean, that's the other kind of part that is forgotten a little bit. I mean, if you're on the road or or you're traveling after a game, those types of days get longer as well, where maybe if you play a home game, you're getting on the plane at 11 o'clock and you're landing in the next city at, 1:30 in the morning, getting the coaches room set up for the coaches, and then, getting back to the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up the next morning and you're starting the next day for the game day. Right. So there's some time that's lost for sure during the season. But I would just say that, I basically we're working every day, and not just myself. I mean, it's not, I know we're talking about me, but I mean, the other coaches are there. We're there every day from basically September 1 until the end of our season, except for like Christmas and, maybe a couple, the NHL All-Star break. So, I mean, that's basically, you get probably, let's say 10 days out of 9 months that you're not at the arena. Right. So,
that's
which
unreal.
isn't a bad thing. And I love, I mean, I don't want to make it sound bad. I love it. Like I'm there every day. I want to be there. As the coaches. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, and there's, 100 people that would want to be in my position. So I just go into my work days every day, just knowing that, there's many people that would want to be in my spot. Right. So I just know that that's kind of my mentality, is just that I know that how lucky I am to be involved with where I'm at. So I just kind of take it like that. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on the podcast. I know that Ottawa's on the up and up, so we're going to be watching for them as they kind of move into their contending part of their rebuild phase here, and
for sure,
they're a big part of that. So thanks again, Mike, for jumping on with us. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me, and I appreciate what you guys are doing for hockey. Just even having a podcast like this is awesome. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So thanks again to Mike King. Really appreciate you spending some time with Trevor and I here on the podcast. Trevor, what were some of the big key points you took from that interview?
So again, first, thank you, Mike. We greatly appreciate you taking some time out of a little bit of your vacation there, out, getting off of the World Championships for Team USA. Some of the big takeaways, and I've already said it, earlier before we did the interview, that the pros they're talking like they're doing 5-minute video sessions. We're talking about adults, where they're showing 5 minutes to guys that are in their 30s. So I think it's kind of asinine and silly to think that we should expect kids to retain or even be able to sit through these 30 to 45 minute sessions of video. And again, I wouldn't say I'm a hypocrite. It's one thing that I'm trying to change, and I am changing as I move on, because it's something that I don't even want to spend too much time doing. But as a coach, I need to get better with that, shorten my time. And again, if the best in the world, if they're only able to pay attention for 5 minutes before, as I said, like Dustin Byfuglien, like I forgot who it was. It was Torchetti. I don't remember who it was. Said, he'd be sitting there snoozing in the meeting, like anything past 5 minutes. Like if those guys can only do 5 minutes, then why should we expect, kids that are peewees, bantams, even midgets to get any further than that? So that one was fantastic information, just as well as, kind of like what goes on in his day to day as a video coach, because I think a lot of people just assume, oh, okay, he shows up, he watches video and maybe he cuts it, this and that. But I mean, his days sound great in the sense of you get to work in hockey, but they sound long and I can see how it could be a very draining job. How about yourself, Coach? What do you think?
Yeah, so just kind of piggybacking on what you said, I've watched or been around other coaches who've watched whole games with their teams. And I'd say you got to look at your audience, and less is more. You're not going to get better just by watching more hockey, because you have to recognize that these kids, they watch TikTok videos and they watch YouTube or reels on Instagram, and it's a 15-second, 20-second clip.
Yeah.
And that's it. So if you can, it may take you for a longer build, and you may have to show multiple clips over a longer period of time, but they'll retain that information more if you show the same clip maybe twice in a week for 30 seconds each time, rather than, I'm going to show a 30-minute piece. It's a longer bill, but they retain that information more. So I thought that was great information from Mike in regards to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and like I said, I mean, I didn't say it, but my just getting my cousins to go and watch, like, I don't know, the Fast and the Furious movie that just came out. Like, they looked like they were starting to get bored, and I'm just like, guys, what are you talking about? This car flying over this other car in space, like, how is that not entertaining? Like, why are you? So I get the whole, like, kids these days, you got their attention span from, as you said, TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, 15, 20 seconds. I mean, that's the sweet spot right there for those guys. So, again, I mean, there's a lot of great information there. And we do appreciate Mike coming on. So thanks again, Mike.
Absolutely. Now, before we get to our 5 myths, Trevor, I got to ask you a very serious question here.
Okay.
What's your Stanley Cup prediction?
Oh, man. You know what? I like the way the Panthers play. So I'm probably going to say Panthers in 6. How about yourself?
I'm going to say same thing. I'm going Panthers, whether it's 5 or 6. I don't think it's going 7. I think they're the best team in the world right now. They beat the Bruins. They went through Carolina Carolina destroyed the Devils, and they beat them at 4. I mean, they're good.
It was funny. I was reading today on the Athletic about how, with the Tkachuk trade, Brad Trevling, who just got named the new Leafs GM, how that was such a big deal, but it kind of worked out for everybody, but a lot of people feel, oh, hey, it really worked out for Florida, better. And obviously that's just recency bias, but I mean, he's great for the league. I mean, he's doing it all. There's a guy where they should be marketing, and I know the NHL is marketing the hell out of him. But he's fun to watch. I mean, that whole team is just fun to watch, and they've got a hot goaltender, and when you got a hot goaltender, anything can happen.
I was watching with my wife the other day, that big hit by, was it Reinhardt behind the net on Slavin, was it?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, these guys are like, Joe, like, they're not fooling around.
No.
Like, they're playing, though. They are playing hockey out there. That is a man's game they are playing.
And Slavin's a big boy, too, and I thought that was a clean hit all the way. And again, it's not, and Reinhardt, I'm not saying that he's small, but he's not like, a Lucic type guy, and he plants them good. I mean, as you said, yeah, these guys are not messing around, and they've got depth up and down that whole team. So I would not, as much as Vegas, I know, has quality talent as well. I think Bobrovsky's now going to prove to everybody that, hey, you know what? Okay, this is worth my contract's worth it.
Yeah, and like if everything's the same, if your forwards, defense, all your depth is the same, you got to go with the hot goaltender, right?
Yeah, and you just can't. You can't top that. Then, next year he'll probably just fall back into his previous ways. But hey, at least you got the ring, right?
Spencer Knight in 24, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, the one thing that I will say that aggravates me about this whole Stanley Cup, especially the one we got down to the, as we'll call it, the Frozen Four here, was the fact of how many people were complaining that it was all non-traditional hockey markets. And again, these weren't like your typical, okay, they're not writers or anything like that, but it's just your general people BSing and complaining on Twitter and stuff like that. But like, who cares? It's still been great hockey. I mean, yeah, sure. Would everybody like to be, would it be great if they were a Toronto team? Well, no, because I don't like Toronto, but would it be great if it was, the Devils or something like that? For sure. Like, or, some of these upper, North in the North American side here of the country. Would it be great? Yeah, but you know what? Who cares? You're still watching good hockey. Who cares where the team's from? The team's got a bunch of Canadians. Team's got a bunch of American players, and some Europeans. So it's like, it's not the game. It's just enjoy it. Who cares? That's been my biggest gripe. It's just listening to these people say, "Oh, nobody cares, in Miami about hockey." Like, well, sure, they're doing pretty well right now. They're selling some tickets, and who cares? Like, if that's what you're caring about, then you're not watching the hockey game. You're not here for the hockey game. You're here to bitch and complain because your team's not in the playoff.
And I would say the same thing too. It's like when it comes to those expansion franchises, right? So you have Vegas comes out of the chute and they're successful. Wouldn't you rather have a team be really successful and establish itself so it can build for the future and can be established in that market, rather than a team like go to Atlanta, be terrible for 2 years, go to Calgary, then go back to Atlanta, be terrible for 5 years, and go to Winnipeg? No, you want them to come out of the chute and be successful so they can build a fan base.
And that's the thing, people just forget, what it was when like Nashville came in the league, when the Wild came in the league, when, again, as you said, Thrashers, Atlanta, their second time back in the league. I know I'm forgetting one here off the top of my head that was in around the same time, but
Phoenix?
Phoenix, yeah. Well, they're the exception to the rule. But they had some good years too. I mean, back when Roenick and Kachuk were out there, you had, Pupa and Net, and you had Teppa Numanen and Shane Doan, and I'm really dating myself here, but
great players though.
Great players. But yeah, I mean, and Javi Bullen was their goalie at one point. So anyhow, but yeah, I mean, again, I think it does well for those markets. I've got family and friends down the Tampa area, and they can't tell me enough about how big hockey has grown over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Even longer, but who cares? Like, again, it's great for those areas. It's great for the game because you're hoping that you're growing the game. Which again, hopefully you might find some, your next look at Matthews. Okay. Coming from Phoenix, not a traditional hockey market, no matter how much Gary Bettman wants to push it. Okay. But like, there's a superstar in your league, probably one of the top 5 players in the NHL. If not in the top 3. Okay.
Definitely.
What happened? Who's to say that you're not going to have? I mean, Charlotte, they've got a huge hockey, youth hockey market. I mean, again, Florida's picking up. Who's to say that the next NHL superstar, one of the next ones, because there's going to be a bunch, isn't in any of these areas? Isn't in Vegas right now? Isn't in, Miami? Again. The opportunity is there, and all it takes is for a kid to say, "Hey, you know what? I really like this. Mom, Dad, can I give it a try?" And as we've talked about before, how you can make hockey, financially feasible. The sky's the limit. So, I'm happy to see these teams that are typically not your normal hockey markets, because honestly, I just want to see good hockey, and I don't have to, It's what
I would say this too. Like, if you want to continue to grow the game, which I think USA Hockey wants to do, the next step is growing college hockey as well. So, if you establish the Vegas Knights have come in the league, they've been successful. The whole western part of the U.S. has no college hockey except for Arizona State, which ironically has an NHL team in its state. That's the next step, is growing college hockey. I mean, our top player, our top scorer last year on our EHL team was Heath Mensch. He was from Vegas. And then he came out and, he had 60 points in the EHL. There was a lot of Division III colleges who were looking at him for next year, but he doesn't want to go to a school in the MASCAC. He's a Vegas kid. He was like, I'm just going to go play ACHA Division I at UNLV because I like Vegas.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be a lot more kids like that who are capable of playing college hockey, but they like the western part of the U.S. better. And the college hockey is going to be coming to the West Coast in the near future.
Right. You know what? If it's not coming to Illinois, then it might as well go out there.
It's insane. It's not in Illinois. That's insane.
It's too bad. So
Lake Forest for D1.
Yeah, something. I don't even care. U of I, NIU, any of these schools, please, for the love of God, get us a team, preferably in the area so I can go and watch. But so yeah, we came up this week with the 5 myths. And it's 5 myths of video coaching, but I think it's more or less 5 myths of just using video in general, within hockey. And I actually this week got blessed with doing the first one. I thought, I got 32 this week. Yeah, I thought I was like, oh man, when you sent that, I was like, oh, all right, I'll give it a shot. It's gonna be a rough one, but I came up with I feel like 3 quality ones. I know we've touched on them a little bit, but I think number one, one of the things is that video sessions are difficult. I think that's a myth. I think video sessions. Can they be a little bit of time consuming? A little bit. The setup, the breakdown, depending on where you are, at the junior level, it's a little bit easier per se because you've got a dedicated area. You've probably got a set TV. At the younger levels, you probably got to wheel in a TV somewhere. You got to rent out a room or something at the rink. But again, difficult. It might just be a tad more time consuming. I don't think it's difficult. I think difficult is just an excuse so you don't have to do it. Now that doesn't mean that as coaches or hockey directors or directors of programs, whatever, helping out, coaches that are not as technologically advanced, I think we should be able to help them more. Even if it's just, again, you got coaches that are just don't know how to use LiveBarn, don't know how to use whatever, don't know how to set up a laptop. There's no reason why one of the higher ups can't come in and say, okay, what did you want me to show them? All right, I'll pull this. And then there you go. There's your 5 minutes. That goes so far compared to not doing anything. I've heard parents complain this and that. Oh, my coach, we did 2 video sessions where, my team's doing it once a week. So again, video sessions, can they be difficult? Maybe, depending on your situation, if your rink doesn't have the amenities, but I think it's more of an excuse than an actual legit truth.
I agree with you, Trevor. I think that that's kind of a cop-out, like that it's too difficult to set up, it's too time-consuming. I would implore every youth hockey coach who's listening to this to designate a parent, just like you have a team manager for your team, to focus on one piece of hockey. And you can, as the coach, you can tell them what they would like to record during the games throughout the first 3 months of their next season, September, October, November. Week 1, say, mom and dad, just record for me 3 D-zone face-offs and then show that to your team in their games for that weekend. Next weekend, record for me 3 offensive zone face-offs. Then the next week, record for me as we're entering the offensive zone and there's a loose puck or the other team has it, so our forecheck. And just break it down like that. And if a parent can provide you 3 clips, you can get so much information from those 3 clips. And you can share that with your team. And it requires no more work on your end. All you have to do is spend that 90 seconds and share that information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you got for 2, Coach?
2, you have to watch full games. We've talked about this. If you're watching full games at this point, you're a dinosaur. You got to watch clips. You got to watch short stuff to keep the kids' attention. And you got to tailor to your audience. They don't watch full games of NHL teams. You think they're going to watch full games of Little Johnny play? No, Little Johnny's not as good as Connor McDavid, so it's not as entertaining.
No. I mean, I can't even. If I'm watching a full game as a coach, you just got our ass kicked. There's no way in hell I'm rewatching that game all over again either, because I don't want my blood pressure to get too high. But there's no reason for anybody to be watching full games. That's just silly and way too much time. So there's no disagreement there. I mean, so number 3 is you need to spend big time dollars for proper tools. Again, we've touched on a little bit, but there are tools out there that you can go full tilt on. Obviously, the junior level, college level, even AAA level, you guys are using, like Instat. You guys are using some pretty, Huddle, some pretty serious stuff. But at the youth level, honestly, what I've used is very simple. I go and if I need in the middle of a game, if I want to make sure we see something in video, all my coaches trifold the card there, and I'll write down the time and what I'm looking for. And then when I go back home, and I decide I'm going to just get the video, I go to LiveBarn, I pull up the exact time, I've got the video, and LiveBarn has it so I can download 30-second clips. So all I got to do is download that 30 seconds, whatever I want, and maybe it's a minute. I can download that whole thing. Now I have it. And what does that cost me? It costs me, a LiveBarn subscription. Some clubs already have them. Some don't. Some of us coaches, you can write them off. You can write it off as a tool on your taxes. So, use that. You don't need all the fancy tools and stuff. You need a laptop, an iPad, whatever you want to use, whatever you've pulled it off of. That's all you need.
Live Barn and Hockey TV are great tools, and you can get a subscription of that. That's great. But you can also use the tools that are at your own disposal. Use your phone, use your iPad. And in the early part of your season, get your assistant coach to record each individual player as they're doing a drill, and just give that feedback to them as they come and wait in line. And that's an iPad that you already have at your disposal, and you don't need to spend any more money on. That's a perfect way to use that.
So again, there's no reason for anybody to, say, you don't need all the fancy tools. Let the professionals, the ones that are at the much higher levels, let them. That's who those are catered to. So again, you don't have to make it too expensive. So, Coach, what do you got for number 4 then?
Number 4, I have every video session has to be about hockey. At the end of the day, when we're coaches, we're developing young men who are part of a team. And I think some of the most impactful video sessions I've had have been stuff like early in the season. We've had some stuff where we used TED Talks, or we used interviews with certain people who've been captains in the game. I think Coach Kuhns with our EHL team did a great video session that involved some of one of the recent 30 for 30s. Just showed 3 or 4 minutes of a section of that 30 for 30, and it resonated with the team. So you don't always have to show clips to make an impact. You don't always have to show hockey to have an impact. You can show stuff that shows the broader picture and what you're trying to accomplish as a cohesive unit, and create more buy-in with your team by using stuff that's outside hockey but also relates to the team concept.
Please tell me that the 30 for 30 was the Bad Boys Pistons one.
No, I think it actually was he showed one of the bullies of Baltimore, that one. I think it was like one of the guys had to modify his game and change his game, and I forget what it was, but it was good. It was really good. It made sense at the time. I
want to see the intimidation factor. I want to see you're taking it to the net. You better get your head up. So no, I don't disagree. I mean, there's a ton of different stuff and ways you can do it, and you've probably heard or read of numerous coaches, and even at the pro level, who've shown, as you said, not only TED Talks, but interviews of soldiers, and you don't want to get too much like hockey's like war or whatever, but they talk about their experiences and what it means for commitment and leadership. So I don't disagree with that. And then so number 5 here is finding exact video is tough. And when I say that is, you've mentioned it before, defensive zone faceoffs, offensive zone faceoffs, forechecks, this and that. I like to make sure that I'm not only showing the kids or the players themselves like what they're doing, but also like what they're doing at the pro level. How does this translate? Showing like what the pros do. I think that's hugely impactful. And again, one of the things that I've heard before is, it takes forever to find something like that. Honestly, if you know what you're looking for, you've got YouTube, you've got Google. There's numerous people on Twitter who are cutting video, sharing video. One of which is Mitch Jaguar, who I've used this last entire year. He put it out a video a day of just different situations that, I'm able to save right into my laptop library here. I mean, if you know what you're looking for, you just got to know the tool to use it. And again, YouTube's huge. There are ways you can download videos off of YouTube, which are probably not legal, but I don't know. I do it anyways. And then, you've got other ways of just finding video. I mean, so to say that, I can't, I'm looking for this exact situation, reach out, look around for it. Do the job, do a little bit of the effort. And it does go a long way, instead of just saying, it's going to be too tough for me to find, videos of, 3-on-2s or 2-on-2 videos. Like, no, just do a little bit extra work. And it does go a long way.
That reminds me, I think one of the most impactful video sessions I ever had was we went into a showcase. We were kind of we had a couple injuries. We had a couple kids who were sick. This is probably 10 years ago now, or 8-9 years ago now. And the roster size was limited because USA Hockey only had like 20-something guys, and now if we got 5 guys out, we're really playing with a shorthanded lineup. So I looked at the previous night's NHL games, and one of the teams was playing with a similar roster, really decimated today, a lot of AHL call-ups. But they won the game like 3-2, and in the final minute, I mean, like they blocked 5 shots, they made a bunch of hard plays in the defensive zone. They won a face-off just to seal the game. And I showed that clip. I said, guys, this is the level we have to work at. If we want to win these next couple games over this showcase weekend, we're going to have to bring this type of intensity in the final minute throughout the entire contest. We want to be successful. This team did it with a similar lineup of AHL guys playing against NHL guys. We got guys sick. We got guys injured. We can do it too. And I thought that was, not patting myself on the back too much, but I thought it was an impactful video session when we won a bunch of those games. So, like you said, you don't always have to show a specific thing. It can be about a mentality.
Yep. No, yeah. And again, so it's those are this week's 5 myths. So, Coach, before we hang her up here, you got anything you want to add?
No, just looking forward to some upcoming. You got some great guests coming up. I think these last couple episodes have been really, really great information for coaches. So it's exciting to see where this podcast is going.
Yeah, definitely. So if anyone out there has any questions, comments, concerns, as always, you can check the show notes or get a hold of me and Coach Trimble. Again, we appreciate any feedback. If you can, leave any feedback on Spotify, Apple, the iTunes, whatever, we greatly appreciate it. Just kind of helps us get an idea of what people are looking for, listening to. But yeah, outside of that, I think, so you're leaving next week, you said?
Yep.
All right. Well, it sounds like I'm not gonna see you for at least 2 weeks here. Not
next week, but then we can set up that podcast coming up the following week for sure.
We'll get it going there. So, all righty. Well, so I'm Trevor DiCarlo.
I'm Andrew Trimble.
And thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll look forward to talking to you guys next time. Thanks.